Hello everyone, thanks for dropping by. That's the latest and greatest Buick Enclave, and even though Buick is considered maybe an old man's car in America, that's the kind of American car that I would purchase if I lived there as a new American. As I quite like that style, it's more mellow than the Escalade, which is its competitor, and it's also got a V6 instead of the large V8. But I quite like that style. Anyway, enough about that. As you know, there's lots of women complaining on TikTok about how they're getting on in their dating life, if guys are interested, which we're not, and they all seem to be saying the same thing, that guys are ghosting them, and if they're only doing 1 or 2 dates, they're not going for a 3rd and 4th date, and the guy just simply is not interested. Or in some cases the guy takes one look and then he legs it and he's out of there. For a start, these two obviously are models, but he's obviously 6 foot, but you notice he's taller than her. Even in the street you notice that guys are always taller than the woman more often than not. Even wedding photographs of my parents, Dad was just a little bit taller than Mum. So I'm only 5'6", so I will never be able to get anybody. Not that I'm caring for anymore, because I'm nearly 68 and I just lost interest decades ago, and I'm talking about 50 years. Anyway, enough about me. I've been looking around to see what the state of the dating industry is in America, or the dating scene you could say, and I found a few interesting things. First is this. As you can see, it's Forbes Health, and this was done on January 25th this year by these 2 women. As you can read, the state of dating in America in 2024. Emotional cheating ranks higher than physical cheating. It's quite a long article, but there's 1 or 2 interesting things on it. If you drop down, it says half Americans, 45 respondents in the Forbes reported online dating appears to be the top spot for meeting someone to date. Now that is for the now, but as I covered in a previous video, the dating industry by the companies that provide the apps are starting to go bankrupt, because nobody is really using it, and it's falling out of favor with Gen Z. And it says, ahead of the most romantic day of the year, Forbes Health poll survey data reveals how people feel about dating. If you drop down, the Pew Research Center, 64% individuals claim to be actively dating, 36% reported to be not actively dating, according to results of the Forbes Health survey. Now if you drop down further, that was a Forbes, sorry, my mistake, my bad. If you drop down further, data from the Pew Research Center on the online dating, 44% responded meeting a long-term partner or spouse was a major motivator, 40% said dating casually, and Chad was just in the 24% wanting sex, or it was women riding the cock carousel. And then the Forbes did a survey of just 5,000 Americans, and it doesn't say where they did the survey from. It could be 1 state, or it could be all over America. But anyway, 60% of Americans feel either very or somewhat positive about dating, 23% feel indifferent to dating, and just over 13% reported negative feelings towards it. Now, it doesn't say whether those 13% will be MGTOW men or the 13% the women on TikTok that are complaining. Once more, men appear to have more positive sentiments compared to women, 68% versus 55%. Now, the guys with the positive statements are on the dating to see if they can find a wife. The women are looking on the dating to see if they can find Chad. So that could be a reason why there's a difference in percentages. Now if you drop down, you get a graph, somewhat positive, very positive, neither positive, negative, somewhat very negative. The very negative, as you can see, is more or less even Stevens across the board. Somewhat, same with somewhat negative, halfway, very positive, and somewhat positive, so it's even Stevens across both sexes. Now, US data prioritize personality and appearance equally, which is not true. The guys are initially attracted to the way a woman looks, and the woman is initially attracted to the guy's personality and what his income is. It says, not everyone surveyed prized personality so highly. Nearly 13% of respondents were most concerned with looks. That could be guys. Looks are also slightly more important to men. I disagree with that, with personality being slightly more important to women. The women are more attracted to the bad boys, so that could be a moot point on that, and the said of which saying there it's vice versa. With these fighting improved looks aren't everything to everyone. True, but beauty is in the eye of the beholder. Dr. Liam points out there are drawbacks to focusing too heavy on a person's appearance. That could be a warning to guys, don't concentrate essentially on how the woman looks. But then we get down, where do most Americans meet their partners? And then a large graph about where they meet the partners from the various age groups up to 78 plus. Why somebody who's 78 plus would actually want to be dating is a mystery. And he says, online dating is most popular for age 18 to 58. However, other spots are more popular for older individuals. And then pros and cons of dating apps. As a result of dating is app fatigue. It says, I like to encourage folks to narrow their relationship to the app. Looking wood, it's starting to feel more anxiety-provoking, triggering insecurities are more like a game or slot machine, swipe from one profit to the next. You could say that what women do. And then it goes more yada yada. Now, which state is the quickest to say I love you? Apparently Arizona, Massachusetts and Connecticut are the top states to say I love you. This is based on states with a high percentage of people saying I love you within the first 3 months of dating someone. That's if they're with them for that long. And then at the other end you've got Oregon. On the other hand, only 9% of people in Oregon would say they express their love for someone in the first 3 months. Oregon, Illinois and New Mexico as the slowest states. And then more yada yada about the single dating apps and companies, and then about cheating and reason why they're cheating and more yada yada. Well, that's the state of dating in America. I'll naturally put all these links below. And to support that, I found this. This is Carolina-owned Queen City News, which is in North Carolina. It says, this is a pity piece for women. Why dating has become more difficult in 2024. This was done on February 14th, St. Valentine's Day. And it's not just the economy that makes dating difficult, but experts say so many apps and so many options it could be hard to pick just one person. But this bit was interesting. On St. Valentine's Day, Americans spent $25.8 billion on just that one day. Well, as the red pill influence and philosophy spreads throughout America more and more, that number could very well go down for next year. And it says, this bit is what I remember. It's very difficult from the 1980s when you had to pick up the phone if you wanted a date, need to write a letter. It was a lot of effort, and a lot of people don't expand that much effort all the time. Mum lived in Stoke-on-Trent, and Dad lived in Warrington. That's 50 miles. Dad rode his push bike down to meet Mum after they got back from Butlins. That's where Dad met Mum, Butlins at Skegness. And Dad had to write letters to Mum to keep in contact with her when he didn't go down to Stoke. He only rode his bike once, but Dad worked on the railway, so he got the concessionary fares, and that's how they started courting. But that's just a side issue. It says, online dating gives the appearance of endless options. There are so many There are so many options now with online dating that people think, what's behind door number 1, 2, 3, 4? In other words, swipe left, swipe left, swipe left. They're breadcrumbing people, which means they are sort of feeding them a little bit of attention. That would be aimed at women, no doubt, but not enough to really create a real relationship. And it goes more yada yada. Blurred lines could lead to a broken heart. Women are emotional creatures, so no doubt she aims at that. This article, reading through it, got the impression it's predominantly aimed at women and not men. And then she says recommends women looking for love should join her database for free. That's the sales pitch. Now that's aimed at women in North Carolina. I found this is the man's point of view, BuzzFeed. Now this was written by another woman, Hannah Marder. This was done, where's the date? On March the 4th this year. Men are sharing different parts of modern dating, and as a woman, I never thought of some of these. Now there's 20 odd, I think. A lot of these things I've seen in the comment section of YouTube videos about MGTOW, so a lot of it rings a lot of bells. Constant rejection, getting rejected 1,000 times, you get more like gun shy. The worst is when you assume it must be a joke, because you have to be joking if you think she might be interested. And then the woman writes back, she's seen female friends cry for hours over the fact that Chad said no when they asked him out, and how awful it was, and how guys could never understand how they feel. Lady guys get rejected all the time. We know how it feels. And then I had a couple of dates first month. All of them gave me their number. Some of them said they should meet again. I've asked out to dinner. Been a month. Some of the messages are still marked as unread. But this is how it is for guys. Says, what are you hitting on me? I was just... And then she comes with a right bitchy comment. Let me put a stop to that little brain fart right now. Girls with asses like mine do not talk to boys with faces like yours. Now that is the reason why a lot of guys are going MGTOW. And then for men it's the absence of opportunity on dating apps, staggering lack of matches, the blah blah blah. We've all seen that. And then I was lucky to get 5 mysteries a week. I could go over a month without receiving any replies. After a while I was trying to get a damn date for Saturday night. Feels like getting hat in hand asking for money. And then if a female friend approached me and asked to set up with a 5'11", 160-pound single guy who likes to bike and rollerblade and has a slight British accent, I wonder if it's a northern or a southern British accent, and he's studying physics, my reply could be, I can do that with probably only 4 guys. But if he asks a woman friend if she has any single friends who would be interested in a guy like me, she'd say no. That is indicative right across the dating scene in the Western world. Then you have to initiate everything, ensure she's nice or friendly. You're supposed to know which woman's interested in you and approach her while spontaneously being told by women never to approach them under any circumstances. I've seen that on the YouTube videos. If you do approach them, you're unwanted, you're a entitled creep, and no guy wants that. The hardest part of dating as a man who isn't super duper model hot and rich is keeping the woman on board long enough that she gets to see your charm, humor, personality doesn't count. But it's a moot point when the woman will ghost or dismiss you long before you get a chance to show what a nice guy he is. And then difficulty for a dating man, it depends on many factors. When we talk about dating harder for men, the 18 to 29 group, that's the prime MGTOW age when guys are starting to wake up to the red pill. There is already a 5% surplus of men in the 18 to 29 demographic in most Western countries. Or it could be a 5% surplus of chads in the 18 to 29 demographic. And a significant number of women in this bracket are either dating men over 30, i.e. guys who have got some capital and resources, or have no desire to date. Well, if they've got no desire to date, why do they complain on TikTok? And then more yada yada. I can't speak majority, but since I stepped foot out of college, dating has become sort of transactional. We've seen that. It's like applying for a job. To me, the hardest part of dating a guy is making others comfortable, display of power, and showing that in fact the gentle giant is hard, especially in a relationship new. In other words, he's a bit shy, but he's finding it awkward. Feelings of inadequacy and hopelessness that come being ignored by women. And then, hardest part of dating a man is that you're never good enough. We've seen that. You always have to perform. You have to keep the woman entertained. It's the amount of competition back in college. The guys in the college, but now with the dating apps, every specific range within 50 miles or more. In other words, she's got the pick of hundreds of men. Hardest part of the young man was that following the advice, initial statements, women on what they want a dating partner turns out to be a nice guy. And if you're a nice guy, you get put in the friend zone. All the married risk. This stood out. This is the reason why a lot of guys are going MGTOW. All the married risk are on men. If there is a divorce, the man always has to pay the woman alimony and continue working to pay for her existence. Courts will always take the children for the man, give them to the woman, and make the men pay them. 50-50 joint custody is not the norm. Most American states are no fault, meaning she can cheat and just get bored one day and then take half his stuff, take the kids and get alimony. That's one of the most main reasons. And I've always found it annoying. Essentially zero women ask guys out. And then the hardest part is walking on eggshells for miles to reach a person who 9 times out of 10 isn't good themselves. Now, this bit is interesting. It's not just single guys. The guys that are sexually attracted to other guys, i.e. homosexuals / gays, there's only about 2% of the population, but this guy is one of them, and using apps, there's a lot of men who are depressing, lazy, don't keep very good hygiene, have no real sense of accountability or responsibility. In the gay community, there are rude and condescending gays that all the time, but they wanted the kind of guy they are jealous of, the tall athletic guy. So naturally they want the 6 foot, 6-pack, 6-figure chad who makes really good money and can travel. If they don't envy you, they don't have time for you. Some of them would tell me it wasn't conventionally I wasn't conventionally attractive, and they already had friends and don't even feel like getting to know me or even answering my text messages. This was a direct and outright admission from some of them. I got tired of working on myself for people who couldn't even show me a basic amount of respect and put in any effort themselves. Now that's a gay guy. He's seen that other guys are just as bad as women in that community. So it's not just straight guys who are finding the problem with women, it's the other side. That's just a little side note that it comes across as quite interesting, as physical appearance is more important in that community than it is in the straight community. And this guy made 18, half a million a year as a physician, but before he met his wife, dated countless women who thought my income was the standard. In other words, he was in the top 1% who they're all after. Hardest part is wondering, can I read her signals accurately? Why bother? Because she sends out confusing signals. I can sum up a conversation I read in a forum. Should a guy bring flowers on the first date? If he does, flowers tell me the guy's a total cheeseball. If he doesn't, he's trash. So best not to bother with dating at all. 21, it's hard to find a gal at all, good or bad. Feel romantic or sexually invisible to women. I know the feeling. I'm the same. Been that way since I was about 16, 17. Not all women are impressed by my knowledge of the same interests. Most good guys have certain hobbies. That's why guys can survive on their own. They have hobbies. My hobbies is learning how to ski. Ski is a solo sport. It gets interesting. It keeps you fit, keeps you healthy because you're out in the clean mountain air, and it's it's something that keeps your mind occupied when you reach a certain age, and you don't really need a woman because you get enjoyment out of it. And said, after you agree to date, it's up to men to do the 100% of planning. That is what I've read on the comment section of YouTube videos about MGTOW. 24, where can you meet single women without being shamed or lambasted? Yet you're a loser if you can't meet them. If women are interested, they drop hints. We're expecting us to be mind readers. Sod that. And if you do manage to get her into bed, you better have a black belt in Kama Sutra or else you're a loser. And before that, you're expected to initiate everything from the first conversation to physical intimacy. But you're creepy or weird if you find a woman sexually or romantically attractive. In other words, the guy can't win, so he might as well go his own way. Today's dating, swipe left or right, have been tweaked like gambling. You always have to pay. Doesn't sound like bad on the surface, adds up to something. Start to feel as though you've been taken for granted. A guy always has to pay one way or another. And was the last one, being denied any sort of compassion. In other words, if you're a guy, you're on your own. So women like breadcrumbing, that's mentioned before. There's an entitlement that comes with the entertain and impress me. That's been mentioned multiple times on MGTOW videos and YouTube. And finally, the most apt analogy I've heard is that equal partners are like fresh drinking water. Men live in a desert and women live in a swamp. It's a struggle to both to get fresh drinking water, but it's not the same struggle. Now that is BuzzFeed. Now, with all this dating, the companies, if you're a certain age, it gets more difficult. So if you're in the 40s, I found this. Tips for dating in the 40s and beyond. Now this was done on April 22nd this year. And it's just a lot of tips, specifications, age range, gender, personality type. You can also look for other groups active in your area, older sports groups. If you're a skier, then you don't need to go in a group because you can ski as a solo skier. Older adult communities, local bars. There's only pubs around here, and I don't like pubs. Take local classes, take up a new hobby. Well, I have done that. It's called alpine skiing. And then negative stereotypes, yada yada yada. You may benefit from setting boundaries if you notice red flags like the following: pushing for too much too fast, single mothers, divorcees, disregarding your boundaries, texting, sending unkind messages, showing more interest in physical connections than emotional, in other words, Chad, attempting to control what you wear. I agree with that. Being extremely jealous, ignoring the days for weekends on end, refusing, blah blah blah. And it says some older individuals might try to push the dating process out of fear of being too old to find a life partner. However, people find love at every age. Bollocks. Including the final years of life. Bollocks. Be active in your community and show your genuine self for those you meet. Bollocks. I like to keep to myself. And then just advice. And that's that. Now that's in your 40s. If you're in your 50s, I found this from the Washington Post, Bezos's rag. Democracy dies in darkness, or in the Democratic Party of America. The new rules of dating after 50, less pressure and more picky. Apparently, the Golden Bachelor. I've not heard that phrase before. And then, where is it now? Where is it? This bit was interesting. About 30% of adults over 50 are single in America, according to Pew Research Center. The numbers may partly be explained by the climbing divorce rate among older Americans, i.e. the grey divorce rate. 80% are initiated by American women. Many of the older singles are dating. It doesn't say if it's men or women. 1 in 6 Americans aged 50 and older have used a dating site or app. It doesn't say whether it's men or women. A 50-year-old shouldn't really be dating if you're divorced or widows. That's irrelevant. You're too old for that kind of thing. A guy wants a peaceful life and quietness and tranquility once he reaches 50 and above. It says every pop culture is getting into the older dating game this Thursday. If you're American, there's a TV show, The Golden Bachelor, on the ABC network. A guy called Jerry Turner, he's 72-year-old widower from Indiana. Why does he want to go through all that again? Several women over 50 will compete for his affection. So you got a load of post-war, post-menopausal women, mutton dressed up as lamb, that think they still got it to attract a 70-year-old widower. Has he got any money? But anyway, if you're American, it could be interesting if you're a MGTOW to watch this program to see what it's all about. And then it goes all yada yada, older single and dating. Love at any age activates similar brain regions, or if you're getting older, a guy, the logic in your brain kicks in. Love system is a brain system like an angular system of fear. Noting just like you experience angular, say 14 to 74, you can fall in love at any age. I don't want to fall in love because I find a bigger buzz for doing non-romantic things. When people fall in love, the group of neutrons activate the brain, releases dopamine, etc., and all that bullshit. That's that. Now, even if you're 40 or 50 and you got all the dating thing down to a T, if you live in Delaware, you're screwed, because I found this on Delaware Online. Delaware is one of the worst states for singles. If you're single in Delaware, that I've covered before, if you've had bad luck with the local dating scene, it might not be your fault, especially with Delaware ranked as one of the worst states for singles in America. And then let us know how Delaware does not fare well. And then how the best states for singles. And then it drops down. Report stemmed from the United States Census, Bureau of Economic, blah blah blah, including states metrics. Once that data is analysed, each metric is classified as either positive or negative. A state's combined score of each metric results in its total score, which is how the best and worst states for singles are ranked. So is Delaware a good state for singles? According to a report, Delaware ranks number 10 as one of the worst states for singles in America, which is number 41 in terms of best states for singles. States 1 through 9 for the worst states for singles are as follows. So if you're single and you're in West Virginia, Arkansas and Mississippi, South Carolina, Utah, Alabama, Tennessee, Vermont and Connecticut, you're screwed if you're single. The method used by the Consumer Affairs following metrics among others. The male population of those 18 or above in Delaware is 388,873 American guys. And there's 421,268 American women in Delaware, 18 and above. And there's same-sex couples, there's homosexuals and lesbians, 13.2% per 1,000 households. But the income in Delaware is quite good, $82,000, $174 US dollars per year. And that's where Delaware is. I think I've covered that before with the housing. The more single women have housing, probably through being divorced, in Delaware than any other place in America. It says, summary, hoping for some beach days this summer. No, that's another article. If you're looking for a change of pace, the quest for love and want to start anew, consider visiting one of these top 10 states for singles. So if you're single and you want to get it with somebody, New York, Alaska, New Jersey, Massachusetts, Illinois, Oregon, Washington State, Pennsylvania, Minnesota and Wisconsin. Now, going back to Delaware, I found this. Best states for gender equality. That means feminism. So, if you click on that, 15 is California. There's Pelosi. About time she retired. And Arizona, Wisconsin, New York, Massachusetts, Hawaii, and there's Delaware, number 9, the ranking for feminism in America. Delaware ranks second overall for family planning and care, particularly the first state to the highest score of access to paid family leave and the second highest maternity mortality rate in the country. And then you got all the rest of them, which is New Hampshire, Connecticut, Oregon, Illinois, Vermont, Rhode Island, Maine, and the crowning jewel for feminism in America is a state called Maryland. I've never heard of that one. But anyway, Delaware, if you're single and a guy, you're screwed because, where is it? It's number 10 in the worst states. Now, even if this doesn't happen to you and you're not in Delaware or any of the other poor states, there's a question of dating age. To finish off, I found this. This was done in 2017 or 7 years ago. How young is too young to date? The only bit which is interesting is this. The creepiness rule states that the youngest you should date is half your age plus 7. Now I'm nearly 68, so if following that, the youngest woman I can date is 41. Now I wouldn't want to date a 41-year-old. She's post-war, she's probably post-menopausal, she's probably divorced, she's got children, she's probably got a trainload of baggage. Why would I want to ruin my life by going with somebody like that? Okay, she could be very nice at first, but women are chameleons, remember. So it would screw my life up royally. And for one thing, I couldn't go on skiing holidays unless she's a skier herself. And I'm the only person in this area where I live that's like that. i.e. that can go in skiing. So this is just moot and null and void as far as I'm concerned. But going back, these 20, is it 20, how many is it? Is it 25? Come on, Christopher. 25, 29 reasons which I've seen in the MGTOW channels, and they all ring a bell with me as I've read through them before this topic on this video. Sorry about that, people. Sometimes the words just get stuck. I had a very bad stammer when I was 11, and now and again a ghost comes and raises its head. But anyway, I think I'm well past the half an hour mark now, but as you can see, the dating situation is quite in flux in America, and guys have woken up with this article, and it's not going to get any better as 2030 creeps along, and everything sort of will be coming to a head in that time, with the 52% of American women being single and childless. I think that's it for this dating thing. I'll try and find some other for next week, but for now, you know the routine: like, dislike, comment, subscribe, etc. It's completely up to you. So until next Monday's video, that's it for this one. Bye bye.